Hello everyone. Today I'll be talking about how Margaret Atwood uses storytelling and myth making in Oryx and Crake, especially through the character Snowman. After the apocalypse, Snowman becomes the only human left who remembers the old world, but more importantly, he becomes the storyteller for Crakers, the new genetically engineered species. In this presentation, I'll explain how storytelling becomes a tool for survival, for building a culture, and ultimately for shaping the new civilization. So, moving on to the next slide. Now, storytelling becomes an essential for Snowman becomes because he is the only cultural bridge left between the destroyed world and the Crakers. Atwood shows the stories are not just entertainment; they are form of power. Snowman uses language, myth, and narrative to impose meaning and structure where history has disappeared. His stories create a bridge between chaos and order. Through them, identity and memory are reconstructed. The larger idea here is that in a fractured world, whoever controls the narrative also controls social influence. So, storytelling becomes a survival tool on the both a personal and a civilizational level. So, moving on to the next slide. Mm, in this slide, we see how Snowman becomes the primary cultural storyteller for the Crakers. Since the Crakers have no real knowledge of the past, his stories becomes their original myth. He replaces formal history with simplified narrative about Crake and Oryx. Through these stories, he teaches them concepts like death, danger, rules, and basic knowledge, acting almost like an early human ancestor who uses narrative to guide a community. So, for the Crakers, storytelling becomes their entire knowledge, system, and moral framework. Everything they understand about the world becomes comes through the snowman's words. Um, Moving on to the next slide. In this slide, we focus on how snowman's myths actually structure Craker's society. Crake becomes a creator figure, a myth that explains existence and establishes authority. Oryx becomes the nurturing, maternal myth who encourages peace, care, and curiosity. Snowman himself becomes the storyteller or the cultural architect who creates simplified rules and morals. Through myth making, Snowman stabilizes the Craker's behavior, explains their world, and gives them an identity. So, the outcome is the storytelling literally builds the moral code and social structure of this new civilization. So, talking about the next slide, Atwood emphasizes that language is the foundation of civilization. Without shared language, there can be no culture, no law, and no shared memory. The Crakers have a limited language, which means no man's stories becomes the essential for teaching them meaning, categories, and even basic social norms. Through storytelling, norms and identity get transmitted, and this becomes the beginning of new civilization. Atwood suggests that language acquisition is what drives social structure and law in all societies, including this new post human one. In the final content slide, we look at why storytelling matters emotionally and culturally. For Snowman, storytelling is a sanity tool. It helps him survive emotionally after losing everyone. His stories act as a cultural archive, preserving fragments of human culture when all institutions have collapsed. Storytelling is also how identity is formed, both for him and also the Crakers. The Crakers understand the world and themselves only through the stories he gives them. Atwood's deeper message is that civilizations begin with stories and they end when the stories disappear. So storytelling becomes a link between memory, meaning and continuity. Thank you for listening.